West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
Love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, it's 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, August 4th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, we're going to be talking with, you may have seen the video of the dude attending the St. Louis soccer game here and wearing a MAGA hat and getting kicked out. Well, the guy that posted it, Greg Keller's going to join us, talk about what happened there, the experience. We're going to talk with John Decker in the 7 o'clock hour about the economy, the reports that came out on Friday, President Trump and the markets reacting, and what it means that he's firing the chief of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Getting that in the 7 o'clock hour. 8 o'clock hour, Do Better Denver. Big article in the Denver Post in an effort to try to expose those behind Do Better Denver. Did they deserve it? And did the Denver Post get it right? I've actually been communicating directly with some of the people involved. I have the latest information on that. This is a wild story. And then we're going to talk with the former EPA Chief of Staff as she responds to Jared Polis, deeply concerned about the direction of the EPA. We'll get some insight directly from someone who worked at the highest levels of the EPA. So a whole lot coming up, but now it's time for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. Monday, 58 and clear. Great morning to get outside. Just stepped outside a couple minutes ago. Beautiful. Expecting a high of 95 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Parks and Wildlife officials say they've recovered the body of a missing paddleboarder in 11 Mile State Park. It happened last Friday when strong winds pushed 3 people into the reservoir. The 2 wearing life jackets were able to swim to shore. Wear your life jacket. A man is dead after being hit by multiple vehicles on 225 in Aurora Saturday night around 11 o'clock. A 62-year-old man reportedly tried to cross the interstate at 225 in Parker and was hit by one vehicle and then run over by another. Almost happened to me on I-25 2 weeks ago. Keep it slow this morning and be aware. I'm telling you, you never know when there is someone on the highway, if you can believe that. Governor Polis declared a disaster emergency Sunday for the Elk Creek fire in Rio Blanco County. Evacuation orders were issued by Rio Blanco County Sheriff's Office. 2 homes and 1 outbuilding are lost. It was started by lightning. Denver police say the latest round of crime statistics show the agency's commitment to reducing crime in the city. The social media post from the department last night shows that just over 127,000 calls for service were received between the beginning of April and the end of July. Officers also made over 11,000 traffic stops and seized more than 500 guns. More than 8,100 arrests were made during the quarter, including nearly 1,300 felony arrests. Texas House Democrats skipping town in a bid to stop Republicans from advancing House maps that would give the GOP 5 more pickup opportunities ahead of 2026.
This is State Representative James Tallarico from Texas. If you're seeing this video, my Democratic colleagues and I have just left our beloved state to break quorum and stop Trump's redistricting power grab. Trump told our Republican colleagues to redraw the political maps here in Texas in the middle of the decade to get him 5 more seats.
Okay. If you win the elections, this is what happens. The move aimed at denying Republicans the minimum number of lawmakers needed to be present in order to be able to conduct legislation. This is the same garbage that Dems did in Wisconsin a decade ago. You may remember that. All of them care about themselves than they do we the people of each state. Thousands of Boeing workers are on strike. Members of the Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union are on strike at 3 Boeing facilities in the St. Louis area following failed negotiations over a new contract. One of the stars of WKRP in Cincinnati, the great Lonnie Anderson, has passed away 2 days before her 80th birthday.
You want me, Mr. Carlson?
Oh, yeah, come in, Jennifer. Have a seat.
No, thank you.
Well, all right. This particular point in time, I would like to dictate a press release.
I don't take dictation.
What? Oh, all right. I guess I can do this thing myself. It's probably going to be a long meeting, though, so why don't you get coffee for all the guys here?
I don't get coffee, Mr. Carlson. We agreed.
That was awesome. Great role. Married to Burt Reynolds for a period. And they have one son, I believe. Friends and family and community leaders are remembering Muhammad Ali's younger brother, who passed away Friday after a long illness. Rahman Ali was 82. The Rockies lose to the Pirates Sunday 9-5. Blue Jays in town tonight at 6:40. Broncos training camp continues, of course. College football practice is underway as college football kicks off in about 3 weeks. 57 in Englewood, 56 in Lakewood, 58 in Denver. Jeff and Billy start the week right now.
The place that has the mermaid is the logo. I find their coffee to be very acidic. Now, it could just be my personal taste.
I can't drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, no, I don't want fries, a drink, or, a Cadillac. I just want to get 10 tenders.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Good morning, Denver. Your 710 5-day forecast looks to dry out for a while. Today, we'll enjoy mostly sunny skies with highs approaching the mid-90s. Going to get a breezy southeast wind this afternoon and stick around for tonight. Lows in the mid-60s, skies clear. Tuesday through Friday, middle 90s with some upper 90s potentially towards the end of the week. Sunny skies, lows upper 60s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, dependable service, call 720-851-1690. Or visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Headline coming from Fox News. Fan wearing Make America Great Again hat escorted by security from a Major League Soccer match. A man attending a recent Major League Soccer game claimed his choice of attire resulted in him being asked to leave the sporting event, according to a video posted on social media. The man who identified himself in the video as Michael Weitzel was seen wearing a red Make America Great Again hat at Energizer Park, St. Louis City's SC's home stadium. I'm Michael Weitzel, and I've been asked to leave because of the Donald Trump hat, he states in the video during an exchange with security personnel and law enforcement officers. A member of the venue's security team responded by saying they're non-political here. They don't want any kind of political messaging. Weitzel responded by pointing towards a section of fans holding flags and suggesting the items were inherently political. But the security staff quickly clarified by saying, no, those were pre-approved. Well, he posted the video online. It's got well over 4 million views at this point, and he's joining the Jeff and Bill show. Greg Keller, Greg, known as the Dark Prince of Secrecy, according to St. Louis Post-Dispatch, is shameless propagandist by Washington Post and a silver-tongued devil by the Missouri Times. He's a lot of fun. We're glad to have him. Good morning, Greg. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning. Hey guys, thanks for having me.
All right, so tell us, what's the reaction been in St. Louis? You attend a soccer match, you wear a MAGA hat. Those are worn everywhere. My kids wear them. And yet this guy gets kicked out of the soccer match for wearing a MAGA hat. Tell us about it.
It's just been unbelievable. I mean, I think you guys said, it's closing in on 5 million views. This has been written about all over the world. My mentions on my X or Twitter since this happened, I don't even look at them anymore because it's literally every 3 seconds I get some sort of mention or something like that. This story has gone totally viral. I think it's a couple things. Number one, Michael Weitzel is a perfectly normal, nice guy, and you get that from the video if you go and watch it. He's wearing a hat. He's completely respectful to both the police officers and the security guys. This is a normal guy. He's a mortgage broker. He's a husband. He's a father. He's got 2 young daughters. He was harassing no one, and they kicked him out simply for wearing the hat. Now, what he pointed out in the video, and I've seen this because I've been to St. Louis City games, they said that he couldn't be there because he was doing something inherently political. I assure you guys, and Michael pointed this out in the video, they have Trans Lives Matter flags all over that venue all the time. They have Black Lives Matter paraphernalia pre-approved by the team at all times. And what Michael is saying, and I think what's resonating with people is, listen, if we can't be political, fine, I can't wear my MAGA hat, but why can they, then they shouldn't be able to have all their political stuff. It's the double standard that I think is making people angry.
That's Greg Keller. He's from Missouri. We're talking about the St. Louis City kicking a guy wearing a MAGA hat out of the soccer game. And Greg, this strikes a little bit of a tone for me because I actually won a case against the state of Colorado when I wore a pro-life sweatshirt into the state capitol and was asked and escorted off state capitol grounds because they said you can't be in the gallery because you're wearing a certain type of sweatshirt and with a political message. And it took 30 seconds on Google to prove that you could sit in the gallery with an LGBTQ rainbow flag on. You could sit in the gallery with an gun control sweatshirt on. But if you show up with a conservative sweatshirt, well, no, we're going to escort you off. And I got fire involved, and fire wrote a pretty strongly worded letter saying, if you don't change the policy, we're going to bring you to suit. And lo and behold, they did. So I understand what it's like to be escorted off simply, not because you're saying anything, not because you're making any statements, you're not harassing anybody, you're just showing up. And because of what you're wearing, you get escorted out. So have you talked to Michael? Do you know him at all? And how did you learn about this video?
I have spoken with Michael. I'm probably going to speak with him again later today. Actually, I got a text message from my mortgage broker, a buddy of mine who's handled our mortgages at our house here in St. Louis, at our homes in St. Louis for probably 20 years now. Michael's a good friend of his. He reached out to me and said, hey, check out this video. There's a buddy of mine from the St. Louis City soccer game the other night. Do you think you could do something with it? And I watched it, and I was like, yeah, I think I can do something with this. Are you sure that you want all that smoke, though? Because I think this is going to become a pretty viral thing if I go ahead and post it. And sure enough, it did. I think one of the most interesting things, you talk about the state capitol and being prevented from wearing that shirt. One of the most interesting things that's happened in all of this is that the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, both the woman who leads that, who's appointed by President Trump, Harmeet Dillon, and her immediate deputy, Jesus Osete, who is also a Missourian, I will mention, they both saw my tweet, and they have both commented on it on X as well. So if St. Louis City wasn't in a tough enough spot just because of the PR flack that they've been taking over the last couple days, I think there's a new sheriff in town when it comes to discrimination against conservatives, whether it's on college campuses or wherever the case may be in the United States. This is generally not the kind of thing, this kind of double standard is not the kind of thing that the Trump administration is going to abide. And that's been mentioned by and noticed by both of those people. My sense is that if St. Louis City doesn't offer a very fulsome apology, which they have not, if they don't try to make some sort of amends to Michael Weitzel, I think that their situation is going to be a lot worse than some bad news headlines.
That's Greg Keller. He's a Republican consultant, campaign strategist out of Missouri. We're talking about the man that was escorted out of the St. Louis City Soccer Club's home stadium because he was wearing a MAGA hat. Now, Greg, couldn't the argument be made that this is a private event? This is an event owned by a company. They have the right to choose anybody that they want to have there, let alone someone that they don't like because of their political hat. They can escort them out if they want. This is a private event. Shouldn't they have the right to pick and choose what kind of political messages they showcase? Your response, Greg.
It is a private event, and to St. Louis City's credit, so many of these stadiums these days are financed by taxpayers. You have billionaires who own these stadiums, and yet they find a way to get the general public to pay for the stadiums. That is not the situation with this stadium. St. Louis City leadership and ownership paid for this project, for this stadium, almost completely with personal funds. It was about a $500 million project. It's owned by two of the wealthier families here in St. Louis, and they financed it all almost completely on their own. So I think that argument carries extra weight here. I'm not a lawyer. I do know that this is a PR disaster for them. There are already people in St. Louis calling for boycotting this team. People are very fired up. Listen, I just don't think, I'm not a lawyer, I just don't think you want a letter from the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division coming down one way or the other. Whether or not they violated his constitutional or civil rights, I think that's the question here. And I think the double standard is something that they're going to have trouble explaining away.
That's Greg Keller, and I want to talk to you, Greg. You talked about the idea of a double standard. When I'm looking at this, and now while I don't agree with what the team did, the other flags and banners that you point out on the other side, according to you, have been pre-approved. Is it really a double standard if one group, even though you may disagree with them, gets their stuff pre-approved and another person or group doesn't? Does that really, rise to the issue of a double standard? Are they held to the same standard?
Yeah, well, I would argue, I think the heart of this is whether or not you believe Black Lives Matter and Trans Lives Matter banners are inherently political. I would argue that they are, and I think that most people would.
I would disagree with you. The issue is the approval. The pre-approval is the issue. It's not the political message. The stadium and the team has the right for pre-approval, and that's the double standard.
That's not what they're saying. They're not saying that that both of these are political messages, but one was pre-approved and that's why it's okay. What they are saying is that one is a political message and one is not. They are saying that wearing a MAGA hat and minding your own business is somehow a political message, whereas having a banner that covers literally half the section of an entire soccer stadium that says Trans Lives Matter, their argument is that is not political. That is not a political political message. I don't believe that that's true, and I don't think your average person believes that Black Lives Matter and Trans Lives Matter is not inherently political, because they are.
Maybe I missed the part. I thought earlier in the conversation you said that the team had come out and said they pre-approved those banners. Is that correct, or was I mistaken?
No, they pre-approved them because they say that those are not political. Well, they are political, and that's their problem.
Okay, I understand the idea of hanging it on. I understand why it's important in the conversation to hang the jacket on the fact it's political. But for me, the delineation comes down to whether or not the private organization, being the team, approved it or not. That's it. Because we can be as mad as we want about whatever political statements they want, but if the team pre-approves it, okay. I disagree with this idea of a double standard. I don't agree that the team should have kicked him out, but I kind of look at it and think if the team pre-approves a banner, even though we disagree with it politically, that's different than someone showing up with a hat, a T-shirt, a sign, anything else without checking with a team, regardless of what that hat, T-shirt, or sign says. It's different, fundamentally.
Well, there's nothing in the contract terms of buying a ticket that says that you can't do anything that's inherently political. So he didn't break any of their rules.
Actually, it does. And the city of St. Louis, the stadium has rules that say you can't bring in banners or wear things that are political, and they say they can make that judgment. So the pre-approval would be necessary. It says it in their rules. Their apparel rules say political. Yes.
No, I don't believe the word political appears in it. And again, watch the video again. What the security guard says is you can't have anything that is political. Well, you can have things that are political. Their banners are completely political. The problem here is that if you are conservative, if you are Republican, then somehow everything you say and do and wear is political. But you can have the most obnoxious, ridiculous, trans lives matter banners, and somehow that's apolitical. That's a double standard, and it's nonsense.
Yeah, it seems to me it's a similar argument to what you get out of like public schools when, God forbid, we put up the 10 Commandments because it's deemed religious, but they don't see it religious to just paper the walls with LGBTQ rainbow flags because somehow that's not religious, even though I think you can make an argument it takes far more of a belief than, to say that you can change your gender than it is to believe in God. But Greg, I want to ask you about how the people of St. Louis, Missouri are responding. Missouri went 60-40 for Donald Trump. I imagine wearing a MAGA hat is something that's relatively accepted in the state. And so to get escorted out because you're wearing a MAGA hat seems to, as you mentioned, fly in the face of what the state stands for, and maybe a PR nightmare for the soccer team.
It's a total PR nightmare, and I think that our people on the right are filled with righteous indignation because they see what they believe is a total and complete double standard here. I think it's also part and parcel of this kind of larger cultural thing where the left has to politicize everything, even sports. You turn on ESPN and all you want to do is see whether or not the Rockies or the Cardinals won last night. And all you get is this political nonsense from Jameel Hill and people like that who they've hired over the years. Same thing is happening here. The left, for some reason, is absolutely obsessed with over-politicizing politics. You go to a St. Louis City soccer game, guys, those signs, those banners are everywhere. It's over the top. It's obnoxious. There's no need for that in a soccer game. I think it's a larger cultural issue here, too, of the left trying to politicize absolutely everything and using even sporting events as a way to try to meld the political thinking of the larger voting public. It's just people are tired of it. It's obnoxious, and that's not why they didn't go to a soccer game to be yelled at about political issues. They went to go root for their home team. Like, why can't the left just chill out and accept that?
Bill, I got a question for you. Is soccer inherently progressive?
I don't know.
Fan base, the kind of the sporting game itself, like because I've been to soccer games too, and it seems like, or at least watched videos of like the Portland soccer games, and it's just like giant rainbow flags and kind of BLM stuff you don't see at a football game or baseball game or those.
Well, the issue is this:
is it more progressive inherently? Is that the audience base?
Well, the thing is, when you're talking Portland. Portland's an island in and of itself. Much like in Colorado, Portland is like the Boulder of the United States. They do different things there than anybody else. Also, I would caution you to derive anything based on soccer culture from anything going on in the MLS. The MLS competes against the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NFL and hockey stuff here. That's it. Internationally, they're a minor player. They do not reflect nor represent the larger culture in soccer, and it depends on where you are in the world. There are going to be certain areas of the world in which you would view it as much more progressive, and there are certain areas that would be much, much, much more conservative. You get into some of the Eastern European clubs, and you border on racism and ethnic cleansing in some of those based on the ultras that go into some of those. But again, you're talking about, going to Serbia and the areas like that. So it's that gets a little more violently political. And then you get even some of the Italian soccer teams have some wings of their supporters that do get into certain brands of politics. So it depends. It really depends on where you are internationally. Here in the U.S., because of the people that are more likely to go to soccer games, you're going to find a more progressive fan base in the U.S. than you would at probably an NFL game. Yeah, I think that is fair. But is it representative, overarching for nationally, the overarching worldwide? No, it doesn't represent that way. But yeah.
Do you think that, though, contributes to the challenges that Major League Soccer has? To Greg's point, you show up and it's just this barrage of kind of progressive ideology thrown at you via big flags and banners and all that stuff. And if you wear a MAGA hat, you're going to be escorted off.
No. I doubt it. And here's the idea.
Do you think that contributes to the problem?
Because again, no, not at all. Not in the least. One, because I think you're drawing a larger example. This one guy, one time, got asked to be escorted out of the stadium, but yet you draw it as if now, if you wear a MAGA hat, you're going to be told to leave. No, I disagree. Show up at Dick's Sporting Goods Park here with a MAGA hat on. Chances are nobody's going to tell you anything. And that's even here in Colorado. I mean, you may have people flipping you off and giving you the bird. And part of the thing in St. Louis was the guy there did say that people were giving him the bird, but there was also, it wasn't necessarily the team coming in and saying, you're a problem. They had received at least one complaint. And that's a problem you have from the team's idea, because now you're looking at the idea that we have people that are here that have lodged a complaint and then the adjudication process. So there are issues there. No, I don't think that necessarily progressive mindset one way or the other hurts Major League Soccer, because here's the idea. If they went all in with Donald Trump and they went all this, you think all those guys that love the NFL and everything else are turning into soccer? No. My sport has been made fun of for decades, as being the weak. I mean, I was made fun of as gay for playing soccer in high school. So no, this has always been the perception, and so that's no. Major League Soccer is trying to sell to everybody. They will necessitate a more progressive fan base here in the U.S. because that's who's more representative to it, and that's who's also rejecting some of the other major sports. But that's okay, and it's also when the kids grow up and some other things. So no, it's an anomaly more or less being more progressive in the U.S. than it is internationally per se. But that's just my opinion.
Greg Keller, I'll give you the final word. You posted the video. What's your response to all this?
I think that to the point made, I think that MLS is inherently, and their fan base is inherently more progressive. I think you see that in all of their sports. Another thing I commented on Twitter the other day is, who is the snowflake in the stands who is so terrified to see a MAGA hat that they decided they needed to call the authorities? Like, what is wrong with people?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, like, people just need to calm down and chill out a little bit. I disagree a little bit. I do think it's pretty clear that MLS is, if not discriminating against conservative fans, certainly treating them differently from the rest of their more progressive fans. I think that the extent to which this story has just absolutely blown up, just wall-to-wall coverage the last few days, I think is evidence that they, certainly at the very least, have a PR problem on their hands. I'd also say St. Louis City has not so much has issued a tweet about this situation in the 3 days since it happened. So they don't seem to think that they have a problem. They don't seem to think that they did anything wrong in potentially discriminating against a conservative guy for wearing a hat. I think that at the very least, if not a Civil Rights Division DOJ problem, at the very least, they have a real big PR problem on their hands. And right now, they don't feel as if they need or want to do anything to ameliorate it.
That's Greg Keller. He's a political consultant from Missouri. The guy that posted the video of the gentleman being escorted out of a St. Louis City Soccer Club match for wearing a MAGA hat. Greg, you've been a lot of fun. Thank you for taking the time to join the Jeff and Bill Show and have a little bit of a debate this morning.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
It.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Did the St. Louis Soccer Club have every right to escort this guy out? It's our place. It's our location. We can do whatever we want. If we don't want you in there because you smell bad, well, then we can escort you out. You wear the wrong type of hat, we can escort you out. BLM is a civil rights issue, MAGA is a political issue, and you shouldn't be allowed to bring your political message to a soccer game. Or is it a double standard, as Greg was pointing out, that you're going to allow rainbow flags and BLM flags, but then a MAGA hat is deemed too political? And is it right that MAGA has to apply for the right to wear a hat like that in the stadium? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Wrapping up our conversation with Greg Keller. Greg is the man that posted the video, and it came from his mortgage broker on of the guy being escorted out of the St. Louis City Soccer Club match for wearing a MAGA hat. So he's kind of the source of a lot of the discussion happening around soccer. Now, Bill, you mentioned you've seen guys escorted out of Broncos games because of their T-shirts.
Yeah, the men and women, and normally it has to do with things that are deemed offensive by those around them, is normally what happens. And again, I don't want to necessarily say them at 6:35 in the air on Jeff and Bill Show because everyone's on HR.
Graphic,
yeah, but they are, and some are
right?
some are very funny. I mean, I like that shirt. So they're very funny. But yeah, I've seen people escorted because other individuals have taken offense to it. I have been at Nuggets games, and because of what someone has been yelling or screaming, people have taken offense to the let's just say overabundance of curse words. And then the person's been asked to settle down, and then they've been escorted out as well. So, I've seen these things. So the idea that because you act a fool, and for whatever reason you go to a stadium, we should all understand that. Now, wearing a hat doesn't cross necessarily that line. It's interesting, however, that we now find that someone expressing a political view other than the one that we adhere to is offensive. And I point to the person that complained about the MAGA hat. But again, in our conversation with Greg Keller, he found the Black Lives Matter statements and flags and the trans rights flags and statements to be somewhat offensive to him, too. He didn't like it. He thought it was unnecessary. So both sides seem to take offense to someone else expressing a political opinion and not wanting it there. I do question why the soccer team, any soccer team, would want to have something that could be, I wouldn't say is, but could be viewed as political, maybe the Black Lives Matter, trans rights, inside of the stadium. But yeah, you should see what happens inside of Europe. The number of things. I mean, you have people unveil signs that make fun of the ownership, that taunt how much you're spending on players, that taunt the coaches and make fun of things. God forbid one of your players gets arrested for something. Those banners that show up in the stadium are, interesting. So I don't know. What do you think about this, Jeff?
So, I mean, well, think about the different angles of this. So if a Major League Soccer stadium just said, look, we're not going to deal with the political stuff, right? Just across the board. Like I'd say most baseball and football, right? You just don't see banners, flags at all, period. You might see little signs, like little cardboard signs, but they're mostly like, hey, Mom, check me out on CBS or John 3:16 or those types of things. And so would this soccer base, the people that make up MLS, allow something like that to happen? Would they be so offended? No, this is a civil rights issue. Trans lives matter. BLM matters. Rainbow flags. This is important. And would they get upset if there was a blanket ban on anything political? That's one thing. Secondly, I've always found this interesting about soccer. Bill, you even admit and said that it has a more progressive audience base.
In the U.S., yeah. In the U.S., I wouldn't say internationally, yeah.
The MLS trophy, like the championship trophy that you win, do you know what it's called?
I have no idea because I literally do not pay attention.
Yeah.
The MLS is so far down the pecking order, and I am routinely frustrated by the lack of investment in our Colorado Rapids to not try to make them a competitive team. So large portions of it just don't pay attention.
So you've never noticed this. This I've found fascinating. No. Okay, the Philip F. Anschutz Trophy.
Oh, interesting. For one of the team owners. That's great.
He's no progressive wallflower.
No, not at all. Nope. And my guess is that most of the people that own the teams probably not bleeding heart liberals or progressives. Probably not. I'm just guessing. Just in general.
Yeah.
That's why I've
always found that a little.
That was my argument when the whole idea was that the NFL, when they were like, "Oh my God, the NFL, they've gone woke." Really? You think the 32 billionaires and other teams they've gone woke? Really? Really?
But they did stop Rush Limbaugh from becoming an owner, didn't they?
I don't think they stopped him from becoming an owner. I'm not sure. But again, here's the idea, though, is remember, it's a closed club, and they get to pick and choose. They've stopped all sorts of different people from being owners, that Donald Trump being one of them, and he's still pissed about it. So I doubt that it was necessarily Rush's politics per se. It could just be the idea that someone of his ilk is more likely to be a lightning rod, and they don't want that type of attention because, they recently were caught colluding with the NFL Players Association to keep salaries lower. Again, the people owning the NFL, again, I'm sidetracking us here, but the people owning the NFL colluded with the players' union to make sure the players got paid less. The union colluded with the billionaires. So yeah, they're not a liberal organization. That's not a liberal thing to do. It's a number of things. But yeah, MLS does have a more progressive audience here in the U.S. Primarily because of its competition, but too also just the people that stick with it longer inside of the U.S. Just the perception of it, stuff like that. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, to Greg's point, even if this isn't a civil rights violation, it's likely a PR disaster. I would say so, because if you're going to get conservative families that may want to go to soccer, and I think a lot of conservative families probably make up the kids that are coming up through the ranks, the Highland Ranch families, the families that are traveling with their soccer teams, probably, not all progressives. So is this become a problem when you're trying to grow the brand, grow the attendance, and conservatives are just going to go, you know what? It's just full of political leftist nonsense. I'm just not going to go to the game anymore. I'm not going to want to attend this. Let's go to football. It's more family conservative friendly. Let's go to the phone lines. Ron, Colorado Springs. Good morning, Ron. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, this has been applied to kids in school, numerous times, and usually when the parents push back and sue the school, generally the school loses the lawsuit for that. And if you recall, even in California, in heavily Hispanic areas, they were not allowing kids to wear the American flag on their T-shirt or anything that appeared to be, associated with conservatism, and they were booting them out of school or suspending them for a while. So I don't think if somebody decides to pursue this in court, even though it's a private stadium, it's still a public facility. I think they'll lose in a lawsuit, but it'll be interesting to watch.
Can't the team or the organization make the rules regarding who, wears what at their events? And if they are a private organization, and again they own the stadium, aren't they then allowed to refuse service to anybody as a private organization? It says so kind of on the back of the ticket, doesn't it, Ron?
It does, and you would think in a perfect world that would be the case, but we have golf clubs and different private organizations that still cannot deny certain groups of people. And that's why it'll be interesting, because it is a political statement and not a protected class of people. So, however, I will say I think conservatives are quickly becoming a protected class of people, because they seem to be the ones that are most discriminated against. So that was all I had.
Okay. Yeah. Most discriminated against.
Ron, appreciate the call.
White House, both houses of Congress. Oh, yeah. Super discrimination. Super. Obviously oppressed.
Well, I mean,
obviously.
Yeah, I talked to a conservative on a college campus about, challenges they may face in classrooms and stuff like that if you publish an essay that's considered conservative and you get a worse grade. But Ron makes an important distinction. Just being a conservative doesn't mean you're a protected class. So if you deny somebody, even if it's a private venue, if you deny somebody because of their skin color, that's illegal. There's a civil rights violation, stuff like that. But when you host an event, you have every right to pick I mean, essentially, what type of political messages are said?
Yeah.
You cannot walk into, for instance, the Western Conservative Summit and start shouting and disrupting the event with anti-conservative messages. I had every right to escort you out. So was this guy being disruptive? Doesn't sound like it. You know, can the event owners pick and choose whatever political messages they want to promote? 100% they can. So I don't think that there's a civil rights violation. I do think that there's a PR problem here. And knowing the Trump administration and, well, any other political administration, they might give them a little bit of heat.
And here's the thing, Jeff.
Send an attorney over.
If you
bring
were,
the attorneys around, that type of thing.
When you were running the Western Conservative Summit, if a whole bunch of people showed up, not a whole bunch, let's say 5 people show up wearing Trans Lives Matter hats, and you got a couple of people in the group saying, you know, they're not the people here, etc., some complaints and people are not liking it, and you may not make this choice, but it would be within your rights to ask them to leave. Same thing. You absolutely could walk over and ask them to leave.
I wouldn't have done it.
I'm saying you may make a different choice. Yeah, you may make a different choice, but the issue being that if in the same situation, but it's the politics were reversed, you would still have the ability to walk over and ask those people to leave, just like the MAGA supporter was asked to leave at the soccer game. While it's a PR disaster, we just have to realize it's not necessarily maybe the legal entanglement that we are all leaning into. I think we should slow our roll based on whether or not this is going to be anything legal. Public relations issue, yes. Legal, I'm not sold on that one yet. We'll see what happens.
We'll have to see. We'll continue to track this. And thank you again to Greg Keller, the guy who posted the video, taking time to join the Jeff and Bill show this morning, which was great. We'll continue. We got a morning dose of You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Jeff and Bill Show. It's that time of the morning that you need the most. You choose the news, Bill.
Yes, it's no small thing. It's time for America's favorite fake radio news game show. You choose the news. Yes, I've scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans and then give them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why would we do this at 6:51 in the morning? Well, because, my friend, nobody in charge is paying attention. Yes, once Jeff and I realized that the people in charge of KNUS don't wake up until 7, oh yes, leave us unsupervised, we will always take full advantage. Just see what happens when we go out to IHOP and all the people in charge there start looking the other way. We start throwing food at each other. Might have actually put my finger into Jeff's whipped cream on his pancakes one day too. So yeah, again, left unsupervised, yeah, we have a lot of fun. And as always, you know how this works. We bring in a fall guy, another player in the game, and that is Blake Olson, who's joining us from the news department. Okay, gentlemen, your choices this morning. Here we go. Headline number 1, worse than a Yelp review. Headline number 2, great memories. Headline number 3, hidden cancer risk. And headline number 4, a sudden illness. Mr. Hunt.
Well, a hidden cancer risk and a sudden illness sound the same.
Kind
Let's
of.
go with hidden cancer risk.
All right, hidden cancer risk. Okay, here's the deal. You may be at a higher risk for melanoma and not even know it because it's hidden all over your body. How could you possibly develop skin cancer and not really know it? Because of all that ink. Got a tattoo? Scientists are saying you may be putting yourself more at risk for skin cancer if you spend time in the sun because the colors on your skin hide the melanoma. You can't see the little things developing because of the tattoos covering it up. In fact, one scientist, Dr. Andrew Shapiro, surgeon at Advanced Surgical Physicians in Wellington, said he removes skin lesions, and he says that regularly he finds people that have tattoos and spend a lot of time in the sun don't realize the melanoma exposure. Most recently had to do some surgery on a woman. She has a full arm sleeve, and she didn't realize that when she's driving, she exposed it to the sun. The arm started bleeding beneath the tattoo because of the melanoma. The cancer was so active, it was bleeding beneath her skin, and she had no idea. The problem is melanomas and tattooed skin are often diagnosed at later stages. So that's why you're putting yourself at a greater risk. So if you have tattoos, you got the ink, you're going outside, make sure you check yourself regularly for those skin lesions and melanomas because the doctors are saying because of the ink, you're missing the early diagnosis, so when you eventually get diagnosed, you got worse skin cancer. So be careful, all right? Yeah, kind of a PSA this morning. I know. Hey, Blake Olson, worse than a Yelp review, great memories, or sudden illness? What do you want?
Great memories.
Great memories. On Thursday evening, Central Okanagan Search and Rescue Crew were out training. All of a sudden, it's great they were in that region of Kettle Valley Railway because they heard that there was someone in danger. 2 hikers had contacted 911 after hearing repeated cries from someone lost in the woods. Well, the crew's out there. They immediately switched from training into rescue mode. The first members of the crew that arrived up at Boulder Fields could hear faint yelling. They couldn't really make out what was being said. So they kind of searched more and more through the woods. They split into 2 teams. They were prepping to search more of the forest roads, and then they found the source of the yelling. And the guy was not in trouble. He was a man who had been camping alone and had been just belting out the lyrics to his favorite rock songs by Nickelback. Yes. He was singing his heart out right there in the middle of the trees. But people thought that he was screaming and yelling and was actually in trouble.
Yes. Ruined his fun.
I know.
This photograph.
Exactly. I know. There's a whole photograph joke in there and memories. And so, yeah, exactly. As you reminded me. I know, cool. Isn't it? They thought he was in trouble. And he's like, nope, sorry, just bad singer. Sorry about that.
Did they have a party or what do you think they did?
Yes. Just an air guitar. Okay, now,
right.
Here we go.
Who's going to play their drums?
Yes. Okay, Jeff Hunt, final choice this morning. Worse than a Yelp review or a sudden illness?
Worse than a Yelp review, please.
All right, worse than a Yelp review. We found ourselves in Patterson, New Jersey for this one. The Baldana Bakery on Main Street in Patterson, New Jersey was closed Friday last week because the owner and their brother were hospitalized after being stabbed the day before. Police described the incident from a suspect, a knife-wielding customer that came in there and was mad that he had eggplant placed on his sandwich. He describes that he had an allergy to that vegetable and said it made him ill. So he got so ill, he got a little stabby. He pulled his knife and started hitting the two owners of the store, hit the one guy in the chest, stabbed the other brother, hit him in the hand, and evidently getting deep stab wounds into both brothers. They were brought to St. Joseph's University Hospital, and the subject ran away. They're still working on the description. Here's the twist. He ordered the sandwich 4 years ago. Yes, 4 years ago. 4 years ago, he got a sandwich that had an eggplant on it. Came back 4 years later. Was mad and went all stabby. 4 years ago. I mean, I've heard about return policies, but that's damn ridiculous.
Yeah. Of retribution?
I know. How long was he pissed about that sandwich, and how sick was he? Alrighty. That's it. That's the end of You Choosing News. Back to you, sir.
We're going to talk Trump and the economy next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
KNUS.